Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sure you had a lovely lunch, and a great time with your family during this 1 hour. Pondered on the talks that you heard in the morning. Continuing on the same thread, the morning segment focused a lot about automation and also about artificial intelligence and the machines. So, what we thought appropriate is in the afternoon segment to really look at how organizations need to shape themselves and how they should build in technical excellence within various teams and how should the teams be enabled to provide a quality environment and to ensure that the software which is being delivered is delivered correctly to the customer. And when we thought about these two topics, we felt, we looked around and we found a very, very interesting person, Ritu, who has been a great friend. And Ritu, in her current role as an associate director at Fidelity Information, she leads the product delivery for one of the growing portfolios in merchant solutions, where her main charter is to enable efficiency, agility, and innovation. Prior to this, in her last assignment at Fiserv, she was leading the Center of Excellence for Specialized Testing Delivery. Ritu, as I know her, is a very charming person, and she's been a past keynote speaker at QAI STC 2019. She's also on the leadership panel for a few events at Fiserv, as well as the Agile Testing Alliance. And her core philosophy of transformation is centered around people. So, who better than Ritu to talk to us about how to enable technical excellence within organization? Ritu is currently in Jodhpur and joining us from Jodhpur. Over to you, Ritu. All yours, and we are all yours to listen to your ideas on how do we enable technical excellence.
Thank you so much, Pradeep, for the warm welcome. Good afternoon, STC. Good afternoon, evening, good morning, wherever you are. I'm so happy and excited to be with all of you. So, Pradeep said rightly, last week I traveled over here and I'm taking it from the terrace so that, I'm pretty remote here so that there are no background noise. Thankfully, everything has been good on my personal front. My parents are on recovery path and I'm here in front of you in a relaxed way to talk to all of you. And I'll apologize in advance in case if I run into any issues. I don't foresee anything apart from the aeroplanes that we get very frequently over here. We are near to the airport base. But since I love to talk, you rightly said, Pradeep, I very much miss the human angle over here. And today I shall be talking about a topic which is very close to my heart: thrive with technical excellence, a topic that is impacting all of us. Let me just go to the presentation mode. I hope you are able to see my screen. Before I start with, let me just talk about a bit of who am I in addition to what Pradeep said. More of a happy-go-lucky woman, wife to a supportive partner, and mother of two teens. Technology enthusiast and a natural leader. I love to, help business partners in solving their problems, and I started my career as a QA engineer and have worked in various capacities over the past 18 years, currently associated with FIS Global. And I believe in lifelong learning as a very important way to grow. That's about me in short. I definitely love to connect with people, network, and help others find their true potential. So feel free to reach out to me virtually here at this platform onto the networking booth. I'm just trying to set up my name over there. I had some issues, but now I'm there. Or LinkedIn or Twitter, or maybe in person whenever you happen to visit Pune, if you would like to talk about technology, career, leadership, fitness, spirituality. I would love to host you. Coming back to the talk of today. Before I put my point forward, let me talk about, one of the situations I was in once upon a time, and I'm very sure that you would be able to correlate and, uh, imagine the scenario. We were actually working for a retail giant to implement their internal financial calculation system. The team over there comprised of financial experts, developers, QAs, DBAs, product owners, and project managers. The ask was straightforward to automate their internal financial calculation system to a more robust, scalable, software-based solution since they were, expanding across the globe. And it was a multi-million deal that the team was pretty excited to work onto the implementation. When they started, the development and testing and implemented the happy path, when the actual testing started, they started encountering a lot of tricky performance bottleneck issues. The team has been pretty enthusiastic, very knowledgeable, smart industry people, but something went wrong. What possibly it was? On digging a bit, we found the entire team was not much connected together and has never spoken to the product people, not the entire team. It was only a handful analysts that were working with product folks and passed the requirements to the technical team. The technical team was a kind of forbidden to speak to these client product people. Instead, they had to talk to their product managers, who was like managing 4 or 5 product owners. While passing the requirements, also, these analysts were with a cognitive biased mindset focused only onto the presently implemented Excel based system rather than the actual requirements, and were keen to recreate the Excel based requirements. Sprint by sprint, though the team has been delivering the minimum viable product, however, not focusing onto the design, introduce those performance bottlenecks, which not only delayed the schedule and increased the cost, but we could sense it increased the frustration among teams as well. A very common scenario, right? We all see that. How it could have been better? Well, this also means different things to different people. It could have been investing time in design, could have avoided the mishap, or maybe involving the technical teams in the product discussion workshops could have given different insights. Shall the analysts have been rational in decision making and understood the tech implementations at high level and verify, they would have been in a better situation to provide an early feedback to the technical team. Or maybe, if I put this very straight, the team should have been working to uncover the better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do that. Technology is changing rapidly, and so are the business applications. Typically, businesses, the clients, the customers, they don't care about what fancy features or technology you are using, whether you working in agile phase, scrum, or kanban. Most of the people are not so bothered as far as they are getting the output out of it, whether you follow the lean SDLC methodologies or the microservices approach. It doesn't bother them much. What is the expectation from the business? The expectation is very straightforward: their problem to be understood and solved. Focus on understanding the problem and the solution. Basically, we as a delivery team, who delivers these business expectations? We deliver the business expectations. We know the tech stuff. We have experts. We are the one who are building the elegant systems. We manage the customer projects. who we are. We are basically a great team. And what makes a great team? People, knowledge, common purpose, trust, technical experts, and technical excellence. But is always there. I know that's the key thing. But we still see mishaps that are happening, projects not delivered as per the expectations, or we don't get the basics right at time. These are a few of the common examples that I have taken it from Google. You can Google them anytime and would have seen it a large number of times. What the customer needed was completely different with what was delivered. We are, the functional and the technical experts having a lot of experienced teams, and still we keep on seeing the mishaps. So where actually are the gaps? Let us revisit the Agile Manifesto, one of the 12 principles of Agile that says continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. The key here to me is the continuous attention. Focus, focus, and focus. With shorter iterations and frequent delivery, it is very important to focus on sustaining the delivered features and maintaining the technical hygiene. Everybody keeps on talking about the cycle time, the reduced cycle time. What is the reason behind that? The reason behind that is we want early information. We want to see if we are on the right path of a scalable architecture or not. That is our why, and that's why we want highly efficient technical organizations. And what does a basically a good technical organization look from outside? It's an organization that can give you rapid cycle time. It allows you to take ideas quickly, put them into production, and see whether they are working, and then able to pursue, switch, and do the rest of the stuff. And how we do this? What we do is create a culture of technically excellent organizations. So what we need to do for that is focus onto the continuous delivery and develop a learning mindset. I see at times, teams that are setting up a deployment pipeline, they simply call it as DevOps, or maybe, do fewer things, unit tests, some peer reviews, and call it as extreme programming without focusing onto the bigger picture and what value it brings. I feel that, a more of continuous focus and effort within the technical and the functional areas will make a huge impact in all of these teams and organizations. Well, I see the full screen onto my screen. I mean, the presentation mode onto my screen. I hope everything is working as expected. You are able to see properly and hear. I assume silence as yes. Well, technical excellence is not only about technology. Okay. A lot of time we would have seen that the developers or the QA folks, they tend to be very technology centric at times. We should pay more attention to the domain as well as the problem statement first that we have to deal with. Technical excellence is much more than technology. We are not going to talk about the technology all the time. How? What exactly is technical excellence? It is all about uncovering the better ways of developing and testing software by doing it and helping others do it. Identifying the ways to showcase how do we deliver the value fast. Great teams, they always talk and focus on value. The achievement of technical excellence completely relies on the culmination of the business side of the organization, valuing the tech side of it, and the development side, understanding the needs of the business. A lot of organizations that we see separate these areas of speciality, with the focus onto the business line. We have heard that there should not be any silos, but when we talk about silos, we really can't say that there won't be any silos. It would be more like living in a world of false optimism. Humans naturally have the tendency to go silos. They will. And that's what we do. We get along in groups of like minded people. The question is, you can't avoid silos. But what you can do is try and organize the silos in such a way that they are most beneficial, or maybe I should say least harmful. Lack of business understanding on the developer side seems to come about when the developers don't interact with the customers, or the QA folks, they don't interact with the business folks. What you are looking out for is your dev and QA, the teams, to be interacting more with businesses in order for them to truly understand what exactly is the problem statement they are trying to solve. And at times you will encounter the situation that the dev and QA are not so comfortable talking to the customers. Of course, the scenarios are changing these days, but we as leaders have to give them the opportunity, and if required, maybe force, so that they learn and understand. And we have to maintain this balance towards the developers as well as the business side. When I say developers, I'm talking about development plus QA, the test automation people, everybody who are actually working onto the software side of it. As a leader, it is our responsibility to bridge these two gaps, the two different mindsets, and let the right kind of information be flowing through by bringing them together. And it requires direct communication. So we can do a lot of things, maybe continuous meetings, or sharing the information about the sales win, or what is going through the core project work to the business people, keeping a balance onto both of these sides, and bringing out the best in both worlds. Well, what are the different kind of problems if we see, if the dev or the QA people don't understand business, exactly the business function that is. And that's what I will come back to my problem statement, that the situation that I spoke to in earlier slides. Though the implementation team, it was very technical in nature. We have got all the industry experts, and they had been using an amazing tool and technology stack. It was very important for them to reimagine few of the areas of technology as well as the business, to leverage the computing capabilities of those technologies, instead of simply replicating the business requirements that was given to them in the Excel based calculation. And that is an important thing. Our mind always plays tricks with us. You will realize that a sort of cognitive bias also exists in our head, and that affects everything around us. If I talk about my example, okay, the product people, they focused only onto the Excel based calculation, and that is what the information they passed further. And it happens with us as well, that we get biased, and we don't always see the things the way they are, but pay more attention to certain requirements than others, depending on what is running in, or running in our mind. And this typically leads to a situation wherein the requirements communicated by the business, or maybe the way they are interpreted or implemented, many a times they do not match. Having technical excellence here, it means that there is a common language that all of these stakeholders they speak, and there is a common overlapping vocabulary across these teams that set up a common ground, wherein we go with the interpretation of the requirements onto the same language with everybody, and we help reduce the impact of this biased thinking. And that's why I would always recommend, to have the representation of all the teams in the requirement workshops, or other meetings. I mean, some sort of presence has to be there, so that there is a certain level of common technical excellence among different groups. One more thing is there: technical excellence is not more of a theoretical concept, but it involves a cultural shift. Do you remember working in a great team, or have you been in a great team? I am very sure all of us does. And what does make a team unique? The people, the communication, the trust. And, we always feel a team is doing good if they have a common purpose, a common goal, and most importantly, if people are having fun while working onto that goal. And that's why I always say technical excellence starts and ends with the culture. It evolves around the culture in which continuous improvement is the key, both in terms of the technical skills, the development of the QA skills, or soft skills such as the team collaboration or the ability to help and coach others. And it is pretty easy to talk about culture, but how the business leaders hire, train, promote, and reward the employees is also what will determine the success of the culture, or maintaining the culture of technology excellence. The culture is something not that just happen, it has to be carefully cultivated. Championing technical excellence also requires that the different folks, be it the project managers, the leaders, the product owners, the QA folks, the automation folks, support people, in general understand what technical excellence means in the product, the technology, and in the skill of the work that is doing. And why they have to do it? Because at times these folks might not be taking any decision, but at least they should be knowledgeable enough to steer the interactions between different stakeholders, you know or maybe understand the architectural platform constraints, or maybe try to put in some sort of inputs that at least are fully understood by rest of the teams, and keeping the team in track on track in making any sort of technical or the functional decisions. What is a highly efficient technical organization? If we talk about continuous delivery, we always talk about the rapid cycle time, continuous delivery. It is all about the ability to build the software in such a way that you are always able to put the current state of the software in the production. And the crucial thing about continuous delivery is it gives me enough incremental shift, so that you can learn from it and get some value out of it. Learning is of course a very important part of the value, but at the same time things like automated deployment, good version control, and other things, they always help you understand things better. Of course, it when you talk to a lot of people, it might not be an easy thing to do, However, working for multiple clients, different banks, I have seen a lot of organizations, a lot of banks who have been successfully implemented the continuous delivery system. It might not be easy. It might need a lot of effort and coordination to reach up to this stage. But trust me, it's industry proven and it is hugely worth it. And it makes a massive difference. What is required for this continuous delivery? Maybe a few things that we would like to talk about. And the most important thing that comes to our mind is clean code. We all keep talking about, bad code. But tell me something, why do the teams write bad code? Is it time pressure? Or maybe hard work or work harder? Or maybe the legacy code? You would have observed, just adding a simple if else statement or maybe updating a test case may take a week for legacy code. Why so? So when I was thinking about, so currently I am into the delivery role, leading the product delivery, and I keep on uh, researching about a lot of things. I came across this broken window theory that I would like to talk about it. And I'm very sure that you would have heard of the broken window theory. What it says is, if a window in a building or surrounding neighborhood is broken and is left unrepaired, in some time you will realize that the rest of the windows are soon broken. And the simple hypothesis when I relate to the bad code thing is, we write bad code because we read bad code. So what are we supposed to do here? For each desired change, first make the change easy and then make the easy change. So maybe a simple trick that I would like to talk about here is that I keep on telling it to my teams as well. Whenever you are learning to code or make your automation code from scratch or refactor the existing code base, the most important skill that you can learn is not the ability to write the code quickly, but the ability to write code clearly. Because what may be the very, important property of a code base is not, we don't look for how long does it took us to write this automation code. What matters too much to us is how long does it take to update that code, to refactor that code. Once it is written, nobody bothers about how long does it took to write. All that we bother about is going forward how easy it is to make change in that code. So as a leader, I would always recommend, don't get bothered if your teams are taking a bit extra to write the code. Ensure they are working to make their code as clear as possible, and they focus on what and why this particular code has been written. Invest in good design and it will always pay you back. One more interesting thing that comes while we are talking about the clean code and a lot of things, technical debt. I'm not a big fan of technical debt, and I don't prefer to use it with business people. I try to avoid it. No, because there is a problem with it. Technical debt don't accumulate linearly. So if you think, for next 1 month, I would be working an hour extra to clear out the issues, it doesn't happen that way. A mess is a mess. You are never sure if you are using a shortcut now, technically, how much it will slow you down in your architecture or in your landscape in the near future. And most importantly, you can't calculate that upfront, how much loss you are getting into for this. For example, you can always calculate, if I have a 1 million rupees now and I spend a lot of money every month, by end of 20 years, I would be left empty hands. that is a financial debt. You can always calculate with that, and you will go accurate with your calculations. Technical debt, you really can't do that. The foremost and very important thing that comes next is continuous learning. If you want to create a culture of technology excellence, then you should better be willing to facilitate training for people, educate them, aware them. Yes, there could be a risk of training the people. What if they leave? But as the saying goes, what if they stay? So technical excellence is more about curiosity towards, continuously learning the new skills, trying out new approaches, and strive to enhance the quality of products and code. Continuous growth and learning should be fed into the engineering culture that promotes technical excellence through a wonderful experience, and how we can do that is maybe uh, organizing different chapters or guilds or community of practices, or go for what works for your organization. And I completely understand that it can be difficult to maintain the enthusiasm for these kind of initiatives over the long term. And I leave it to the leaders to take a call what best works for their team. But be assured, over the time, you will see the results, how it is influencing the wider organization. Why does it matters to, maintain or thrive the technical excellence? Needless to say, speed to market is one of the most fundamental requirement of businesses these days, and products are expected to be released faster than they were in the past. Championing technical excellence is the key to adaptability and the low cost iterations that would be driving the long term product success. In case if you get time, sometime you can go through the stories of Netflix or other brands, how they have. I think I am running short of time. I'll maybe taking another 3 minutes and quickly close this. You can
No
go through the
worries. Continue.
particular
Yeah.
case studies and you'll realize that how they have overcome these things, and how quality increases their speed and the excellence that matters. So here we are towards the end, and I would like to conclude it by saying we all the things that I spoke about in this presentation, we all know it, we all have been facing it, and we genuinely speaking, we do not have the knowledge problem, we don't have the talent or the experience issues. Okay, somewhere we we are losing track, maybe because we have a practice problem. We need to practice in a world wherein we are looking out for fast delivery, wherein we are focused more on to speed. At times we tend to oversee certain things, and we are just getting into that race to deliver fast. So let us all do what we preach. And with that, probably I'll close my note here, my talk. And thank you so much. You have been an awesome audience. I think I have made it on time. Very engaging. Open for
Okay.
Q&A.
Yeah, there is a very simple question, and it was a fantastic talk, Ritu. That's why we didn't want to disturb your flow. It was very nice. It's nice to hear a lot of pointers, of how we can go back to, looking at the discipline of excellence, right? And imbibing the discipline of excellence into a day-to-day delivery and making that a cultural shift across the organization. And I think these are very important challenges organizations need to look at. One of the questions stemming from that thought, which came from the audience was, how do we build this as a skill? In the sense, is there something like a technical excellence as a skill? Is there a way that organizations implement these skills? How do we imbibe this? That's the question that they had.
See, as I said, gradually this is more of a culture that has to be built. There could be, we can carefully craft a plan looking onto the audience or the team members that we have. What sort of trainings we should be providing. If it is the business folks, maybe they should be understanding the technology onto higher side so that they can leverage the benefits out of it. If we talk about the dev and the QA folks, maybe they should also be educated and made more front facing to interact and converse with the business folks so that they understand. It is not only about one of the note that I used, the tricky thing that there is something, the problem that is coming up. Now, instead of thinking about the problem, all that is there in the person's mind is I should use React or I should use AI ML. Instead of focusing on what technology, let us focus on what the problem statement is, carefully evaluate how or what fits into the solution and work that out. And as leaders, what we need to do is understand our teams and carefully foster a culture wherein we provide them these trainings. It is more about consciously invest in the teams so that they learn and understand things better.
Yeah, that's a great takeaway for me. So consciously, organizations need to invest to remove the conscious incompetencies. Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, so with that note, thanks a lot, Ritu, for joining and taking time off and then presenting to us. We really appreciate, even in the tough times, you not going back on the commitment. Really appreciate that with wholeheartedness. Really appreciate it, and we will certainly continue the conversation. And I'm sure the audience have given you a opportunity to come up with the next talk for the next season, which is how do you build this as a skill in the organization? That's a good question.
Definitely.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, I'm glad.
Yeah, fantastic.